Excuse me. So, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our panel discussion on the topic Accelerate Her, a Capability Experience. As organizations evolve, the conversation around women in leadership is no longer just about participation. It's about capability, confidence, opportunity, and creating environments where women can accelerate their growth and leadership journeys. Today's discussion brings together leaders from industry and academia who have been deeply involved in developing talent, enabling leadership, and shaping inclusive workplaces. Through their experiences and perspectives, we hope to explore how organizations and individuals can work together to accelerate women's potential and create meaningful impact. To guide us through this insightful conversation, we have a wonderful moderator and an accomplished panel of speakers. So, quickly, I'll just introduce the panelists. Our first panelist is Ms. Priya Nair, Senior Director and Global Head of Learning and Development at UseReady. Priya brings extensive experience in building global learning ecosystems, enabling organizations to develop future-ready talent. As a leader in learning and development, she has been instrumental in designing initiatives that empower professionals to continuously grow, adapt, and learn in this dynamic business environment. Her work focuses on building strong capability frameworks and nurturing leadership potential across teams, making her insights especially valuable to today's conversation on accelerating men's professional journeys. Welcome to you, Ms. Priya.
Thank you, Patel. Hi, everyone.
So our next panelist is Dr. Preeti Stanley, Head of Department and Head of Corporate Communication at BMS College of Commerce and Management, and an Associate Professor as well. So Dr. Preeti has played a significant role in shaping young professionals by building strong foundations in communication, leadership, and professional development. With her deep experience in academia and industry engagement, she has helped many students transition confidently into the professional world. Her perspectives on communication, confidence, and leadership will add great value to our discussion on empowering women to grow and lead with impact. So, welcome, Dr. Preeti.
Thank you very much, Mr. Patil, and hello to everybody.
Okay. So, joining us next is Ms. Pooja Wadhwa, Leadership and Learning Strategist at HSBC. With over decades of experience, Pooja has been enabling leaders and organizations to build capability, confidence, and impact. She has partnered with leading organizations such as HSBC, Axis Bank, Mahindra and Mahindra, Capgemini, and so on to design leadership and capability building interventions. Pooja is passionate about helping professionals find their voice, strengthen executive presence, and navigate their career journeys with clarity, making her perspective highly relevant to today's theme of accelerating women's leadership potential. So, welcome to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much for your kind words. Hello to everybody.
Yeah. So, our next panelist is Ms. Vasudha Mangalam, an accomplished HR leader and CHRO with over 27 years of experience in technology industry. Excuse me. Vasudha has led strategic initiatives across organizational transformation, talent development, and operational excellence. She has been instrumental in building high-performing teams and enabling organizations to scale successfully while nurturing strong people cultures. Known for empowering individuals and driving purpose-driven workplaces, Vasudha brings a powerful perspective on how organizations can create environments where women leaders can thrive and make a meaningful contributions. So welcome, Ms. Vasudha.
Thank you, Patil. Looking forward to this fantastic conversation.
Thank you. Yeah. Finally, we have Evelyn Senthil, an MBA HR student from Christ University. Evelyn represents the voice of next generation professionals who are stepping into the workplace with ambition, curiosity, and fresh perspectives. As someone at the early stage of her leadership journey, she brings insights into the aspirations and challenges young women face today and how mentorship, learning, and supportive environments can help accelerate their growth. Welcome, Evelyn.
Thank you for the introduction. Looking forward to speaking with you all.
Okay. Let me introduce our moderator for today, Mr. Anjan Anant, Leadership and Development, Talent Development Professional at Northern Trust. Mr. Anjan is a seasoned professional with extensive experience in leadership development, organization capability building, and talent transformation. Through his work, he has been closely involved in helping organizations develop future-ready leaders and foster cultures of continuous learning and growth. With a strong passion for enabling people to realize their potential, Anjan brings a thoughtful and engaging perspective to conversation around leadership, inclusion, and capability development. So we are delighted to have him moderate today's session and guide this important conversation on accelerating women's growth and leadership journeys. Hi, Mr. Anjan. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Patul. Thank you so much.
So with that, we have an exceptional panel representing industry leaders, learning experts, and emerging professionals. I now invite our moderator, Mr. Anjan Anant, to take the conversation forward and guide us through what promises to be a very engaging and insightful discussion. Over to you, Mr. Anjan.
Thank you, Patul, and good morning, everybody. Happy Friday to all of you. I know we are virtually present, but give us a thumbs up that you're there with us. So we all know through your emote icons that you're there, you're listening to us. Give us a thumbs up, give us a heart, give us a reaction, whatever comes to your mind. It only helps us to know we're not talking to a screen, we're talking to people behind the screen. So wonderful. Good to see some hearts and good to see some thumbs ups coming by. Just for some energy on a Friday. It's truly a pleasure to be here with all of you today. Whenever we talk about careers, leadership, and growth, we often focus on titles, milestones, or outcomes. But the reality is that careers today are no longer linear journeys. They're evolving, dynamic, and deeply influenced by how we learn, communicate, adapt, and support each other. So today's panel brings together an incredibly diverse set of perspectives from academia, industry, leadership development, and emerging talent. Each of our panelists has walked a unique path, and I'm sure their experiences will offer valuable insights for all of us here. What I particularly appreciate about the theme of today's conversation is that it focuses not just on achievements, but on the journey of becoming better learners, stronger communicators, resilient leaders, and supportive allies for others. So over the next hour, we'll explore 5 themes that are shaping modern careers. 1, learning-led growth, communicating with impact, leadership in a changing world, the role of networks and sponsorship, and navigating transitions with confidence. My hope is that by the end of the conversation, each one of us walks away with at least one insight that we can apply in our own journeys. So let me begin with a quick reflection question or an opening question to all of our panelists, and we can go, any of you can go first. What does a learning-led career mean to you in your context? A learning-led career mean to you in your context?
Can I go on first?
Sure, go ahead, Vasudha.
Yeah, okay. When I actually heard this question first, right? So what came to my mind is early on in my life when I was a child, and when I would go back to my mom to celebrate my birthday, so she would make me sit down and ask, basically go through the reflection in a few gaming ways as a child that I would be able to reflect upon. So this exercise grew on, and as I grew, it continued with me. And I continue to do that to my son as well. So learning led, whether it's career or every walk of life, right? Learning never stops. I think that is something that we all have to kind of set our mindset to, and never become obsolete is where I'm coming from. In any profession, in any walk of life, particularly in today's world, experience, of course, is very, very important, but that's not just the only currency, right? Relevance is, and for relevance, you really need to up the learning, as something that doesn't come externally, but something that comes within, so that it doesn't become a chore or doesn't become a checklist, but it becomes just the way you operate on a day-to-day life, just the way you breathe, right? So that's how I look at learning. So three or four different layers of learning for me is actually, you need to understand what domain, whatever domain that is, whether it's HR, whether it's leadership, or whether it's technical, whatever area of domain. Of course, business understanding is very, very important. Awareness of where you are, and that comes through continuous practices of reflection, and you need to be honest and sincere to this method, right? And also to also understand where do you want to take this learning to. I think these will help a learning led practices, and also help in career or any walk of life. That's my view.
Thank you so much, Vasudha. Anybody who wants to chime in, add some,
Sure,
please.
I would like to pitch in here. So in the work that I've been doing with, leaders, organization, I've seen professionals who stay relevant over really long periods are not the ones who have planned their career perfectly. They are the ones who have stayed curious, reflective, open to change, open to learning from any experience they've taken. I can also talk about myself. My life's journey has been, one of those really like a river going all over the place. So it's learning from every experience, every project, every feedback from mentors, challenges, and especially moments of uncertainty. So if I have to say, a learning-led career is really about staying adaptable, staying intentional, letting learning shape not only what you know, but how you think, how you lead, and who do you become over time. Yeah, so that's my take.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you, Pooja. Evelyn, Priya, or Dr.
Yeah.
Preeti, you have any perspectives?
I can add on to what Vasudha and Pooja said. Learning led for me is having that curious mindset. You just cannot say that, okay, you know what, I'm done with my career. Okay, I've reached certain point of my career, might be a mid or a senior leadership, and now kind of very satisfied. I don't have to learn, because I've seen this with many of them. But having the learning mindset, which is directly linked to the growth mindset, is what we said, is very, very important, because we are in the world which is very dynamic, be it technology, be it any functions that we are, it keeps changing. I'd say keeps changing every month as well. There's new updates every month. So just not keep yourself updated, but go beyond it, and having that curious mindset is very important to ensure that you lead the, you lead the, learning led mindset or learning led career path. That's very important. Having a curious mindset, having a learning mindset, and be open to learning. Whatever function you are, whatever role you are, or whatever journey you are in your career, I think that's very important to have that continuous improvement.
Okay, perfect. So thank you so much for those reflections. And what stands out already is that learning today is not just about acquiring knowledge. It's about staying relevant, curious, and adaptable. And so let me now bring in our panelists one by one, focused, to build on that idea. So I'm going to start with you, Priya, again. Priya, from your vantage point, designing learning ecosystems at UseReady, what capabilities do you see women leaders investing in most, and what should they actually be investing in?
Right. So in our organization, in fact, when you talk of learning, especially from a woman perspective, we're more a diverse company, right? Having a global footprints across various part of the world. So to ensure that we are diverse, just not to women, but to all the aspect, especially now that we're talking of women, leadership. We know that, leaders, when I'm talking leaders, I'm talking general, not just women leaders, right? Generally, leaders, in fact, navigate through this complex, fast changing workplace, fast changing industry, right? And it's very important that we keep relevant, irrespective of the topic that we're talking, or irrespective of the subject or function that we're working. It's very important for us to be relevant. So now coming to the women perspective, what we've done in our organization is, there are two questions to this, Anjan, is what I understand. One is, what are the women leaders doing currently in order to get upskilled, and what are they investing in future, right, for their upskillment? So having said this, first thing that we're looking at for the women leader is executive presence. I'm sure this is a name that's been heard everywhere. And while we're talking of executive presence, it's not just the communication that we're talking of. It's the confidence that you get in your perspective, right? It's about the unique value proposition that you get to the organization. So executive presence, branding, your personal branding. While I see many of the women, in fact, go create a LinkedIn, but then are they really active? Are they really, we have our Yammer within the organization, are they kind of hesitate in terms of writing. Oh, what if I write, what will people think? What will my managers think? What will my super boss think? They kind of hesitate to do that, but that's fine. Bring so the training on personal branding, executive presence, emotional intelligence, which of course I feel it's just not for women, for men also it's applicable. But yeah, but we have training for on emotional intelligence as well, and people leadership skills. When we say people leadership skills, I'm talking more from a coaching perspective, mentoring perspective. Very interestingly, I was just in one of the coaching workshop, and I was looking at the diverse population there, and I was saying that we have a lot of women leaders who in fact nominated for this coaching and mentoring workshops, right? And if you ask me, that could be for different reasons, but these are the skills currently which I say the women leaders are undergoing. And some of the investment, right, for the future skills. I'm coming to the second part, Anjan. Second part
Right.
is it's more in terms of scale, in more in terms of being influenced, if you are influencing skill and your power skill and all of them. Strategic thinking, many of the leaders, of course, are women leaders are doing it, but I can see for many of them, I see this as a future skill as well. Strategic power, to understand, I read this somewhere, strategic power, when you say to understand who in fact is authoritative to do that, who is a sponsor of the organization, right? Whom should I go to for relevant details of the organization? Getting to know all those things. Sometimes I see women leaders going back, or what will people think if I'm going into all these things? What will people think if I'm asking these questions to my senior leaders? So understanding all these things, which is a strategic power, understanding that. And you rightly said business acumen, understanding the business is very, very important. Those are some of the skills. And we all know we are in the AI, buzzworld. So having the digital literacy, AI fluency is something that I see. And another interesting part that we're doing is that risk taking and strategic career moves. Because I was just reading one of the Harvard, review, one of the publications. It said that women, in fact, tend, I don't know, I'm not being biased, but this is something that I read, right? So women tend to wait a little longer to apply for roles, women leaders, because you know what? There are many things they have to, am I your family? Do I really have to take this? Well, if I have to move to another location, I need to look at many things behind. So they wait for the right opportunity. So we ensure that there is a topic called strategic career moves that we train people on, risk-taking ability, something that we encourage, promote within our organization. So all these are some of the skills that we look as future skills. But yeah, current skills would be something: personal branding, executive presence, network building, and all of them is what I can say.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Evelyn, as someone preparing to enter the workforce, right? So now there's a different paradigm, all we're making a shift now. So with what does an ideal learning culture look like to you? And how would you possibly advocate for it as a young professional?
Right. So, piggybacking off of Miss Priya's point, where she mentioned that people tend to be hesitant to ask questions, hesitant to ask doubts, especially with the fear of looking inexperienced or possibly looking having the lack of knowledge. I think that is where a strong learning culture comes in, and a learning culture where curiosity is encouraged, especially where people are not afraid to ask questions. I think that can help with easing people's fear of asking questions, especially. And I think that is where we can develop an ideal learning culture, one in which even when people know complete absolutely nothing about the topic, they have the courage to ask questions and look inexperienced and look not knowledgeable, but still ask for help and receive it as well. And how I would advocate for it as a young professional would be just take simple steps, asking my manager for help, and creating that environment of curiosity, creating that environment of, a comfortable space for others to ask questions as well. I think that helps flip the coin and turn organization culture into a learning culture.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that. Dr. Preeti, thank you so much for your patience. And I'm going to come to you now. So how do you see the gap between academic learning and corporate readiness? And what role should educational institutions play in bridging it, especially for women students?
Mr. Anjan, thank you for that question. So, what I would like to say as an academician, or much before I had even been in the corporate, so a good mix of that with my experience, I would like to say, see, institutions concentrate on theoretical knowledge and conceptual understanding, whereas when it comes to the corporate world, it demands practical knowledge. What students study the institution or the theories that they have learned, they really cannot adapt that on real time work. What they do on work is very different to what they learn. So adaptability, acclimatizing themselves to the constant change that's happening in the industry, the rapid industry changes because of AI, the technology. These are some of the gaps that I see which are there between academia as well as a corporate readiness. Even the nature of learning and the nature of work, there it's very diverse. They're two parallel lines. They really do not coincide at all. And it's also about the industry exposure is very limited to students unless and until they go through internships or they have seminars or they have guest lectures where they get a chance to meet the industry leaders. And another gap that I would kind of see is the skills mismatch. So, what industries expect and what the students already have, there is a gap between that where we really have to work from the academic perspective. And another one is experiential learning. This is another gap that I feel is there present between the academic atmosphere and the corporate readiness between the students and the industry. This is something that I want to say.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And Pooja, I want to come to you. So in your work across HSBs, what patterns have you observed in how high potential women approach learning differently, and what can others learn from them?
Thank you, Anjan. Very relevant inquiry. So, in my experience working with leaders, I've noticed women who grow fastest treat learning as a career strategy. It's not an event for them. So, what I've observed is three patterns. One is, they are very intentional learners. They don't wait for formal programs or certifications. They actively seek stretch assignments, maybe, cross-functional exposure, collaboration with teams across geographies, and one thing, feedback. The other thing is they are very reflective learners. So let's say after a project or a difficult meeting is done, they would, reflect with questions like, what is it that I've learned from here? What would I want to do differently the next time? And third, and I think this is very, very important, they build learning networks, network of mentors, peers, and sponsors who can help them find out their blind spots and also, help them grow in the industry. So I think if I have to summarize it, high potential women are not those who work hard. They learn deliberately from every experience they have. And I think this is what I would like to leave as a thought for everybody.
Excellent, wonderful. Deliberate learning it is. Thank you so much, Pooja. Vasudha, coming to you from a HR perspective, how can organizations create learning that happens in the flow, especially for women who are often juggling multiple responsibilities?
Thank you, Anjan. I think I will pick up a few threads from Pooja. She beautifully, covered most part of the content. But yeah, so traditional learning models or traditional learning approaches have somehow lost its relevance in today's times, right? Because your work life doesn't have definitive timelines. That doesn't, you don't cut off at 5:36 to start a different life altogether. Or weekends also will have some part of work life. So we need to embed learning as a part of a daily routine itself. So in my view and what I have observed and what's worked for me in my experiences through my work life, right? Organizations need to redesign the learning around a few principles. I would want to call it out as micro learning. You need to have small little micro learning programs or events, and that needs to be structured within their role, right? So if you have 4 or 5 things to do as your goal, as your task, there has to be one aspect of learning as well, which is as a part of your process. It's very important, right? So this is very critical. And then there is also a requirement of contextual learning. So if you're a HR and if you want to get into a compliance side or a governance side, right? So compliance has many factors, and today the new code, labor code, has in itself created a lot of confusion to a lot of HR. So ideally, if you can invest 15, 20 days just to learn this, maybe set aside an hour or 2 hours in a week, right, through the month, to learn this. So contextual learning becomes very important. So micro learning, contextual learning, and the third one being mentor driven learning, right? So you really can't kind of find time to set aside for courses or certificate programs and all that. Those are important as well. But if you can actually get one a mentor, or somebody, or find a manager who can be a mentor, right? Or somebody in the system or outside the system, right? All of these actually create a complete package for somebody. It doesn't have to be just women, right? It can be anybody who
Right.
can adapt to this and help themselves into projects, get visibility into the projects, also sign up for cross team collaboration work, or any areas that needs maybe exposure, or it could be leadership or otherwise, right? So I think learning should fit into day to day life, not just compete with it. Yeah.
Excellent. And wow, thank you so much, all the panelists. It was really incredibly insightful. And if learning shapes our growth, then communication shapes our influence. So many leaders often say that communication is not just a skill, it's a leadership multiplier. So as I transition into segment 2, I want all of us to realize that communication is actually a leadership superpower. So I'm going to go to each of our panelists and delve a little deeper into that. So I just transition from segment 1 to segment 2, which is communicate with impact. So Dr. Preeti, let's start with you. So you lead corporate communication and you teach it as well. What are some of the most common communication blind spots you see among women professionals, and how can they address them?
That's a very interesting question to me, Mr. Ranjan. So I would like to say, as women, or I have been saying women, is that we downplay our achievements. When it comes to an achievement, when it comes to a success or something, we'll say it's just a team effort. I was just part of it. But I feel we have to be a voice. You have to be very proactively saying that, yes, I have played a very distinctive role in that particular project for it to be very successful today. So, and women also hesitate to speak in a meeting. Like I guess one of the panelists said, I think it was Miss Priya who said, women really think what would happen or what would people judge as if I ask a certain question. That's not nice. Whatever you feel, you have to have the aggressiveness, or you should have the potential to ask the question. Nothing is wrong and nothing is stupid. Not everyone who's watching us or not everyone who's talking know it all. We all are learning. We all do make mistakes. So that is something women should actually understand. And another thing is that we soften our voice when we try to prove our disagreement. Women always, I have always seen that they mellow themselves down when they have to say, I agree with you, but then, I want to say something. No, why can't I say that in the same voice that I would like to accept certain things, right? So women, another blind spot that I observe with women is we accept more than what we can actually handle, because we feel that, okay, as women, I have to accept my responsibilities more than what I can handle. Not necessarily. What is there, what I can handle is what I handle. So I feel women should have a voice. We should not be someone who's following the crowd. Rather, you would have to be an individual standing out of the crowd. So these are some of the generic blind spots I have found out with women. So um, this is what I want to bring out to the panelists here today, and to you as well, Mr. Ranjan.
Thank you, Dr. Preeti. Thank you. I think the power of saying no applies to any gender, and it's something that all of us battle with today. It is important and it's comfortable to say it, but it's nice that you articulate it that way. Priya, I'm going to come back to you. So, how do you design learning programs that help women build? And we spoke about this a little earlier. So I'm picking back on that a little. How do women build executive presence and communication capability? And what do you think is often missing in many off-the-shelf leadership programs?
Right. So I'll tell you one of the examples that we did with an organization for women leaders. So first thing is that you have to build, these kind of programs with the flow of work. It can't be like a traditional training program where you have a virtual instructor-led or an instructor-led training program, a lot of theory concepts given to them. Well, that is great. But then once it becomes a training, becomes an event, right? Once the learning is over, they forget that. Then if not, you'll have to do a refresher. It becomes, it's not a continuous pattern. So for me, according to me, you have to, while traditional learning is very, very important, no debate on it, but you have to take one more step, just move beyond the theoretical aspect of it and give some real leadership movements, some moments wherein people really understand or will be able to face the reality. When I say this, have some kind of practice or practical or experiential learning along with the traditional learning as well. When I mean experiential learning, give them some kind of practices with having some scenarios built, scenarios practices like influencing. If you have to influence a senior stakeholder, how would you do that, right? And then if you have to present some kind of strategic ideas which can be part of the executive presence, and very important, if you have to handle a very challenging conversation, like a high stake conversation, how would you do that, right? And if you have to speak in a very high visible,
Have something that you do. Right. So a lot gets accomplished when you probably do experiential learning, immerse yourself into it. So thank you for those insights. Pooja, coming to you. So from your experience coaching leaders, so how can women communicate their value more effectively in meetings, negotiations, and favorite topic of all, performance?
I often say that talent and capability has never been an issue with women. The real differentiator that comes in is visibility, confidence in communicating the value, and access to opportunities that they get. So, one pattern that I've noticed while coaching leaders is many women do fabulous work, excellent work, but they assume that the work will speak for itself. In reality, leadership requires visible value communication. So there are three practical things that actually help. One is whenever we are talking about a contribution, it instead of saying, let's say, I have worked on this project for so many hours, can this be reframed as this initiative has reduced, let's say, the turnaround time by 20%? So changing or reframing the communication or the expression in terms of impact instead of effort. The other is speak early in meetings. This is research data. If you contribute early, the more likely your voice will be remembered and heard even later. And thirdly, prepare, prepare, prepare. Preparedness, there's no compromise on it. Prepare at least 2 or 3 strategic points before any important meeting or a performance conversation. I can share an example over here. There are two leaders, and a performance preparation is happening between managers. So they talk about the first leader and say, "Oh yeah, I know this person. This person has contributed this percentage of growth in our organization. And yes, this person is the right person to promote." And when they talk about the second person, everybody is just quiet. And after a very long time, one person, yeah, I think I've heard of him. He does good work. Despite the fact that they might be doing exactly the same thing, performing, in the right manner, both of them are at par. But who is recognized? Who is acknowledged? So visibility is crucial. Communication is crucial. Whenever we talk about personal brand, whenever we want to build that brand of ourselves, there are three aspects to it. We all know credibility, consistency, and what we forget, especially women, is visibility. So we do great work, we are consistent with our work, but if it is not visible, that's the challenge. So this is one line that I often talk to people, I use. Confidence is not about talking more, it's about speaking with clarity, speaking with intent. So yeah, these are a few thoughts that I had.
Amazing, amazing. Thank you so much, Pooja. And I think it makes a lot of sense. CCV, clarity, credibility, and visibility. I think you put it that way. You can coin that and copyright it for yourself, Pooja. Those are amazing, powerful
Thank
words
you.
that possibly somebody can take back, irrespective of gender. Now,
Absolutely.
thank you for your perspectives. Vasudha, how do you advise women to balance empathy with authority? And this is fun because it's especially during those difficult conversations.
Sure. Yeah. Women actually often feel they must be liked. Empathy is deep ingrained in women. But I'm not, kind of saying that as being something that's not completely inappropriate. Yeah, we all have that in us. But I think being respected and having the right kind of approach is very important when it comes to applying this character, which is empathy, in our work environments and all that. Effective leadership actually balances some of these elements, right? There needs to be clarity of thought. Obviously, we need to know, what is the subject that we are talking about, who is the audience, what's required out of us, and what's the expectation, and all of that, right? So that's clarity that's required. But at the same time, people may not agree with what we say, or how we say, right? And that's okay. So I think, uh, whether it's, and I don't want to say it's only women, right? It can be men too, right?
Sure.
So I think the accepting disagreements is not clearly, or not saying that you're not competent, or what you're saying is not something that is not relevant, or any of those. So if you've done your homework, like how Pooja put it, you've done your preparation, you know what the context is, you know what the intention is. Yeah, express it with utmost clarity, express it with true intentions, and the remaining will flow, right? It's okay for people not to agree, right? And remaining consistent and relevant is also very important. So you need to stay to the subject, stay within the context of the subject in this whole conversation of empathy and all of that. So difficult conversations, we always actually encounter difficult conversations, right? But being firm on the issue, but being respectful to the person, I think with that, empathy doesn't weaken us, right? Or weaken any kind of communication. It only strengthens, in fact, because you are understanding the perspective of the person, that your person or context or situation. So it actually strengthens credibility. So yeah, that's how I'm going to put it.
Wonderful, wonderful. I think that was articulated very, very well, because it's important of how we visualize and see some of these difficult conversations more as opportunities for us to see what we could do and get our point across. Thank you. Evelyn, thank you for your patience, but and I'm going to come to you to a very different paradigm. Many young professionals today hesitate to speak up early in their careers. So, what has helped you build confidence to find your voice? You could share.
Thank you. Thank you for the question. And I really enjoyed listening to all of your perspectives on communicating in the workplace as well. So I think for me, I still haven't, I think this is the biggest platform I've spoken up at yet. And I think other than that, what has helped me build confidence in for me is that I honestly, I still struggle with it sometimes, because speaking up in front of especially people who know a lot more than you is definitely very intimidating, which is where I think the academic or educational environment has been very beneficial for me, because it has really helped me take risks in small spaces, where it has helped me make mistakes and take small risks and expose myself to that vulnerability of being wrong. And over time, I think those small moments have added up. And each time I contributed or spoke in a discussion or answered a question, whether I was wrong or whether I was right. But especially those times I was right, it definitely helped me build my confidence, slowly building it up and be able to speak in bigger spaces, larger audiences. And along the way, I've also realized that being wrong is actually a part of learning. And there is nothing wrong with being wrong. And especially for young women, I think it's important that we remind ourselves that our voices deserve a space in the conversation and we deserve to be heard. So, yeah, thank you.
Fantastic, fabulous. Thank you. And thank you all for your perspectives. The last few years have changed the way we think about leadership. So I'm going to get our attention, move away from communication to this, because agility, resilience, empathy, these are no longer optional leadership traits. So I'm going to wear a hat in terms of to understand, and we're going to segue into the third segment, which is leadership in a changing world. Is let me ask all of you, and this is open now, because the segments get sporadic. So I'd like all of you to come in with your.
We lost you.
Or did you lose me? Am I
Yeah.
back? Apologies. So I said the segment 3, I'm going to keep it a little sporadic and open so that we get some of your perspectives. There's no right order. Anybody can chime in. Just a question is, how has your definition of leadership changed? Possibly in the last 2 to 3 years.
Maybe I can start. Over the last few years, my definition of leadership has changed or shifted very significantly. Earlier, I noticed leadership was often associated with direction, decisiveness, having the answers. Leaders were expected to provide clarity, certainty, assurance, direction. But in the last few years, through the pandemic, the rapid changes that have happened, the increase in the complexity in the environment we work, it has shown us that the leaders don't always have the answers. So today I see leadership much more as the ability to create clarity, even when certainty is not available. It's about helping people navigate during ambiguity, having honest conversations when things are difficult, creating an environment where the teams feel safe, to think, to speak, to contribute. So, in many ways, leadership today is less about authority, but more about presence, communication, as we've been talking about it, and the ability to hold space for people as we move forward.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
I would like to just add a few more to Pooja's thoughts there. Absolutely well put. Speed of decision making has also been something that today leadership has evolved into, right? It's how agile one is and how accountable one can be in this decision making also plays a huge role in leadership maturity itself, right? So it's also no longer being perfect in everything, but it's about how do you bring in your decisions into what's relevant, what is outcome driven, and and also collaborate with cross function. It's no longer siloed, right? So I would like to add those along with what Pooja mentioned about ambiguity scenarios and navigating through difficult situations and all of that.
Perfect. So I'm gonna transition to the next segment with this, because just trying to look at the time that we have. So I'll probably request the other panelists to chime into the next one. So, but thank you for this, because one theme that often comes up in career journeys is the importance of relationships and networks. So very often career move forward not just because of competence, but because someone opens a door, recommends you, or advocates for you, right? So let me start the segment with a very simple question. Maybe Preeti, Priya, and Evelyn, you can make a beginning with this. Think of one person who's opened a door for you in your career. How did that relationship come up?
Yeah, I can go. In fact, it's just not one. I can think of many of them, many of them. I'm just not, when you're talking women leaders, yes, they're coming into my mind. If you ask me, you specifically want one person when I'm not naming the person. But yes, in my in the organization that I was working, there's one person whom, in fact, was a person, or was my boss, who initially I was not getting well, I was not getting together, in fact. And she was from an army background, and especially when you are in a company for 13 years, 14 years, and you build your roots, you think, you are comfort, you are the know all, you know a lot of things and things. And you have a new boss coming in, especially from an army background, and you put in some of the rules and things. So this was quite way back, if you ask me, some 9 years or 10 years ago. So you have you and this person comes, puts new rules and things like that. But then many of them start going against it. Change is little difficult for all of us to take, right? Until you understand why there is a change and what are the changes. We're all adults, right? We don't do things when it's until why is being told to us, for many of us. So why there is a change? So there was a lot of objection towards the change that was brought. And slowly we really understood why this person got this change into our learning and development function, and which was, of course, for the benefit of all, for a positive impact. It was for a positive impact. And later on, we realized she was one of the best managers I could work with. Now, of course, she's not there with that organization. But why am I telling best manager? Is not for the change, because we could learn a lot of things from her. Though she was not a subject matter expert, right? We say leadership is not always being a subject matter expert. Leadership is being adaptable. Leadership is being how you empower your team. Very, very important, how you empower your team, right? So she was one person whom I always looked up to and still look up to her for how she empowered her team, how being a leader, lead by example, and a lot of things. And the learning was mutual. Well, she learned a lot of things from us. We learned a lot of things from her. And the trust, another thing was the trust that was built. Eventually, while we were not very happy with her, but the work she did, but by being that manager, the perfect leader, she earned all our trust. So that's one person, whom I would like to call out, and a lot of learnings from her.
Thank you, Priya. Thank you so much. Dr. Preeti, anybody comes to your mind?
Yes, Mr. Ranjan. So I would like to talk about my mentor and who's presently my boss, who I work with at BMS College. So that is Dr. Pankaj Chowdhury, sir, who's the principal of the institution. So when I was back in the industry and I wanted to get back to academia, and I approached sir, and I told him, I have this flair towards giving back to the society. So because I was very passionate about getting into teaching. So I had been for a good number of years in the industry. So I had the opportunity to work with great companies. So then I wanted to give back to the young minds. So I wanted to come back to teaching. So I approached sir and I told him that I want to get into teaching. So he told me, see, for teaching, it's not very easy to take you as a professor because we have certain protocols. And sir was my professor back when I was studying in my MBA days as well. So he told me that maybe I will take you as a placement officer and take you as an assistant professor as well. So that eventually you can complete your doctorate, you can do your NET, which is part of your academic requirement, and then we can take you forward from there on. And trust me, it was not an easy journey, Mr. Ranjan. It was very challenging because, you have to make sure that your students are corporate ready, they're trained, and companies come down and recruit your students, as well as you're also going to do the other kind of a drill, which is going to be your faculty as an assistant professor teaching them. So I was working on two different parameters which are really challenging. So it was there where I found his belief in me. There were some times when I thought that I really could not do this. But you'll believe me or not, it was him who was always pushing me, saying that I believe you can do. Nothing is difficult, unless and until you think it's difficult. When you believe you can do it,
Right.
you're halfway done. Okay, so today, if I have to tell you whatever success I have, whatever it is, I owe it to his mentorship. Because today, when I'm recognized across great platforms, God has been kind also. It is his persistence and his belief, and pushing me. That push that is required when you feel you're losing out balance. So that is where I would like to say, a boss, come a mentor, and a well-wisher, all three in one, and a great personality who I would like to speak at this forum for all of you.
Wow, wonderful. Thank you. It's truly inspirational to hear from both of you, and I'm sure it took you back to some nostalgia of how you started and where you were as well. So
Absolutely.
thank you. And And careers are also, I'm going to quickly transition, careers are also defined by moments of transition and reinvention. Many professionals reach points where they need to step into new roles, industries, or responsibilities. And those moments can often bring both excitement and also self-doubt. So my next question to any one of you who want to pick this up to say is, can you share a moment when you had to reinvent yourself professionally or personally, and what helped you navigate that moment?
Let me go in first. I was, the last, I have about 27 years of experience. So most of this had been in GCCs and working in organizations that are product tech companies. And somewhere there was a kida that set in me that, I want to try this manufacturing space, a space that I hadn't worked. But because I came from a legal background, I felt it can be an added boost. And also because, it was an area that it was something that I had not walked. Right. So I took on this opportunity at Ultraviolet, very, very fast led startup, manufacturing, of course, very compliance and governance driven, but at the same time, deep tech. So there was product, there was tech, and there's manufacturing. So all of that combined, a charter that was very new to me. Had to kind of really get back to the basics of learning, although the domain happened to be HR, and I was, you're familiar with the domain. It's still, what is not familiar is the environment that you're operating within. So there were a lot of learning. There are a lot of aspects that I went back to my basics of learning, reached out to industry mentors, and also kind of never actually, it got to my mind that, oh, this is not possible for me to do. Right. The only thing that I went to work every single day is that today is a new day. Today is a new day for learning. I'm open for challenges. I know I may not do like perfectly well, but I will pick these pieces up and figure out how to kind of emerge out successfully. So I think with that attitude, 3.5 years just went like just like that. Right. So immense learning, immense exposure, and a lot of differences when you work from a GCC to an Indian organization, which is a manufacturing led, and all of that. So I think, to your question, right, new learnings, actually new areas of such experiences, and one needs to kind of dive into to even experience this. And when you actually you come out really nicely chiseled.
Thank you so much, Vasudha. I'd love to take more perspectives, but I'm just looking at the clock. So I'm going to jump in to some audience questions, and we'll come back and see if we can take a few perspectives. Okay. So thank you, firstly, to all the panelists for some thoughtful perspectives. I'm going to open up with the question that's there in the chat shared by Patil first. We'll start with that, and then if there are any more questions, we can always take. So it says, many women hesitate to promote their achievements. How can professionals communicate their accomplishments confidently without feeling uncomfortable about self-promotion? Pooja, could we have you start?
Sure. Um, so in my earlier sharing, I had talked about personal branding. Whenever we use this term, it is often assumed that we're talking about self-promotion. However, it is always there, even if I talk about it or not. There is a brand that's already built. It is the way people experience me. Now, I can intentionally create a unique experience for people by letting them know who I am actually. So there is no ethical issue of being fake. There is no challenge of promoting yourself. I'm not coming up, let's say, to all of you and say, hey, I'm Pooja Vadva and I have done this, and this. However, the way you experience me in conversations, in meetings, the way I respond to questions, the way I communicate, the depth of my conversation is the brand that gets created. But for that, I need to get over this fact that, oh, I don't need to talk about my work. It's important to talk about the impact that gets created by the contributions and efforts that I've put in. That's the only way the people would know. So I do understand the hesitation. I've gone through it myself early on my career, but then I learned, there's a phrase in Hindi. I don't know if everybody understands Hindi over here. Jungle mein mor nacha kisne dekha. So if the peacock dances in the forest, nobody knows about it, right? So I may be
Very true.
excellent, but if people are not able to see me, it's not going to work. So please do not think of it as self-promotion. You are just expressing of who you are. Remember three things. The credibility and consistency are also important. It's not just visibility. Be consistent with your work, build credibility, build trust, and talk about yourself to people. So I think that's my take.
Wonderful. There are questions coming up. So as part of putting in the questions, my blood pressure is rising with the time that we have. But we'll try our best. Otherwise, I'll request some reflections to come post-session, which we could do. But I'm going to come to Dr. Preeti. This is a great question. I'm sure you will add a lot of value to this. Is when facing a career transition or uncertainty, how can professionals stay confident and continue moving forward? Given you had a lot of such similar experiences, I'm sure you'll be able to share some perspective.
So first thing I would like to tell is that never fear change. Embrace it, because you never know what that can make you tomorrow. And always believe in yourself. That is what I have learned the hard way, or I would like to say today. When you believe in yourself, nobody can stop you from achieving anything. And yes, your visibility is so very important that unless and until you speak for yourself, you cannot have someone to speak for you. You need to speak for yourself. You need to stand up for yourself. You need to believe in yourself. Your perseverance, your resilience is very, very important. The way we manage stress, the way we manage failures, we should always understand that when you fail in something today, you'll have to bounce back 3 times more harder, and you should have more enthusiasm when you get back to it. It shouldn't be like, oh, I'm done, I'm not going to take this up. That's where we fail. We fail only when we don't get up. The minute you get up and you believe that, let me see what I'm going to learn from this, what this is going to teach me, you are already winning halfway through. And you never know, it can make you far more successful than what you can imagine yourself. There's no person today who's achieved has had an easy life. They have their own stories of failures. They have their own stories of cries. They have their own stories of challenges. But those are the people who have actually overcome those hurdles, believing that one day I'm going to stand as a role model and an inspiration to millions. So those are the people today who are a voice to hundreds of peoples today. That's what I would like to say.
Thank you so much, Dr. Preeti. Patil, I'm just going to check with you because we are on time. I don't know if everybody else also have any preceding meetings. If you can take 5 more minutes for 1 or 2 questions. Is that okay with the rest of the panelists?
Yeah.
1 or 2 questions. Okay. Evelyn, I'm going to come to you. This one very interesting question that I think you'll be able to add value is for someone very early in their career, what is one learning habit that can truly accelerate long-term growth? Anything that you can share from your experience that you've adopted for yourself?
I think from the very limited experience that I have, I think staying updated with current scenarios, especially in this current climate with so many things happening, I think knowledge is power. I think rather than getting scared or getting intimidated by what is going on, I think we should, I think especially as young professionals, we should take a look at what's going around in the world and use it to our advantage and arm us with the knowledge of how we're going to utilize it going forward. So I think staying up to date with what's going on in the world and going on, especially in our own surroundings, I think a lot of us get distracted with what's happening on the world level that we neglect what's happening in the city level, state level, country level. I think staying updated on all fronts is something that I think all of us should be doing, especially in this time.
Perfect. Thank you. So there are a few questions which I think we have covered, but I'm going to come with one last question for all my panelists, and I'm going to convert this like a rapid fire. So 30 seconds to a minute in your perspective is one piece of advice to women who want to accelerate their careers but feel unsure about their next step? What would that advice be? And we could go around the table to have a Priya, if you could start.
Sure, great. I think I have three of them, not just one. Stay curious. Curiosity always builds your learning better, which means you're relevant to the market, to the industry, to your organization. Second thing is build a strong, network of support. Very important for you. Could be a personal branding, could be within your family, could be outside your family, within organization. Build a strong network of support and sponsorship. Very, very important. And value your own unique perspective. People might say this and that, that's fine. Your own unique perspective is very important to you, and value that, and say it loud and clear confidently wherever it has to be told. Very important. Please don't and don't undertone yourself. You have to value yourself, and that's very important. These three things are very important.
Perfect. Vasudha?
Being authentic, very, very important. Believe in yourself, because I think we all have a unique personality, all of us, and it could be a very strong strength. It can also be an area that we may have not explored, and we might be seeing that as not as such a great strength, right? So embrace all of that and just be true to yourself, believing in yourself, and enjoy the process. Enjoy the process of learning. What we all do is we beat ourselves down, comparing us to somebody else, right? So I don't think we have to live anybody else's life. Embracing our life, our environment, our choices is what will bring in a sense of satisfaction, a sense of understanding, and also confidence, I think.
Amazing. Amazing. Pooja?
Sure. So there are two thoughts I'd like to leave the group with. One is echoing what Priya mentioned. Build your or create your own board of directors. These are your trusted advisors. They could be mentors, friends, coaches, guides, somebody who you trust and you know they will give you the right perspective, which will help you grow. I think that's one, creating your own board of directors. The other is don't wait to feel ready. Only when I'm ready, I'm going to do this before moving forward. Growth never comes with readiness or from readiness, it comes from courage. So, all of us women have innate strength, innate courage. So just tap into it and don't worry, step out, do whatever you wish to do in your life. So that's my wish and advice to everybody.
Fabulous. Fabulous. Thank you, Pooja. Dr. Preeti?
So what I would like to say is that opportunities never come quite often to everyone. So be ready when your opportunity comes, and always remember never to lose yourself in order to make yourself get noticed, because you are your own unique self.
Amazing. Amazing. Thank you. Evelyn?
So I would say that the past 1 hour has been sort of like a cheat sheet for me on how to accelerate my career. So I've had the privilege of hearing all four of your voices as well as Mr. Ranjan's. So I would like to say one point that I learned from all four of you. Miss Priya, you have taught me that I have to be adaptable and I have to have a growth mindset. Miss Pooja, you have taught me that I have to be deliberate in my learning and be intentional, and as well as be effectively communicate whatever value I'm creating for the workplace, and make sure that I'm communicating the impact and the effect rather than the effort that I put in. Miss Dr. Preeti, you have very strongly impressed on me that I am the only person who can control my narrative in the workplace, and that I should use my voice and use every opportunity and use it, as well as to take opportunities as well as to say no to opportunities. And Miss Vasudha, you have taught me a lot about going back to the basics of learning and being open and optimistic to whatever opportunities come my way and utilize it effectively. So I would like to thank all of you and Mr. Ranjan.
Wow, I couldn't have drafted a better vote of thanks speech, but thank you so much. That was like amazing to get all of that into a nugget. But thank you to all our wonderful panelists for sharing such thoughtful insights and experiences today. What stood out for me from this conversation is a simple but powerful message. Careers today are not built by waiting for opportunities. They are built by learning continuously, communicating confidently, supporting one another, and embracing change with courage. And if there's one takeaway I would leave the audience with, it would be this: invest in your growth, speak your value with confidence, and build relationship that lifts others as you grow. And thank you so much to Skillemme and the organizers, our panelists, and all of you for such being a wonderful and engaged audience and for those amazing, insightful questions. I wish all of you a wonderful day, a happy weekend ahead as we step into the weekend. Before we close, I'll probably ask Patil or Swaroop if you have anything that you wish to share with the audience. You could, otherwise we're good to close for the session.
Hi, Mr. Raj. Sorry.
Patil, you're just back. I'm sorry, I think you had technical difficulties. So we just did a summary asking if you have any final thoughts to share before we close
Yes,
this.
yes, I do. Sorry about that. So, thank you everybody for taking time out and doing this for us. And as we come to the close of this enriching panel discussion on Accelerate Her Capability Experience, I'd like to sincerely thank our distinguished panelists for sharing their insights, experiences, and perspectives with us today. Today's conversation reminded us that accelerating women's growth is not just about opportunity, it's about capability, confidence, continuous learning, and supportive ecosystem that enable women to lead and thrive. I would also like to thank our moderator, Mr. Anjan, for guiding this conversation so thoughtfully and bringing out meaningful reflections from each of our panelists. Heartfelt thank you to all our panelists, Ms. Priya Nair, Dr. Preeti Stanley, Ms. Pooja Wadhwa, and Ms. Vasudha and Evelyn for sharing your insights and the rich experience what you have experienced, in your career and bringing that into the session and helping our audience to in this particular topic. So, and of course, thank you everybody who has joined on LinkedIn Live as well as on the Zoom meeting. And let us continue to support, mentor, and uplift each other. So, because when we accelerate one woman's growth, we accelerate progress for everyone. I don't know, I can't remember the quote, but it says that when a woman rises, uh, she takes ahead the family when she grows really big, so she takes a generation forward. So it is something around that. Being a father of two daughters, so I understand what it matters to have such enterprising women within the family. So thank you everybody for taking time out and doing this for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Patil. Thank you so much. Thank you,
Thank
everybody.
you so much. Thank you, Anjan.
Thank
Fabulously
you.
moderated. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
so
you,
much.
everyone.
Bye.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Anjan.
Most welcome.